Howdy y'all, and welcome to the Mr. Maple Show. Today is the 10 at 10 for October 9th of 2025. Guys, it's my birthday, so I'm super excited. So guys, smash that like button and get ready to shop these awesome 10 new trees we're listing, actually 20, at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Mr. Maple. Sean, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Man, starting out, we're coming with a Chinese maple, coming to you with Acer calcaratum. Man, I love this tree because, man, your spring interest, man, you come out, leaves out with those like reds and pinks, then kind of goes to an orange before it goes to the green, but then you got those big fat tri-lobed leaves.
I mean, if this thing had like a cultivar or a common name to it, to me it'd be like the Fruit Loop maple, because it does have those oranges and reds. They keep popping across it with some lime green in there. That leaf too is unique for trees in section Palmata. I mean, it looks like a large trident maple leaf, but this tree is grafted to Acer palmatum. It's in that section closely related to Acer palmatum, like your japonicums, your shirasawanums. It's a good mid-sized tree, typically reaching 10 to 12 feet in 10 years. I had one in the ground at my parents' home that withstood negative 10 degrees. So I was really impressed by that. I have learned that this is a tree that is a little more frost sensitive. So if you can give it some shade where it's got a high canopy, that'll help reduce the amount of frost that it has on the leaves.
Well, I like how you say that because we list this as a zone 7 through 9, but we found out in later years that it actually performs pretty good all the way down to 6B, so we're seeing good results with it. But man, what's really cool is, man, you're bringing something with a little bit different texture to the garden than just a typical Japanese maple, but it fits in with those Japanese maple. It gives you the aesthetics like a Japanese maple. It gives you colors like a Japanese maple. So why not pair it up with a Japanese maple?
With Acer calcaratum, fall colors are yellows to oranges, so it pairs out really well with many trees out there in the garden. Guys, good mid-sized tree, super rare species in cultivation. You don't see this frequently offered. Jump on Acer calcaratum at 10 a.m. Next up, we got the floating clouds maple, Acer palmatum, Ukigumo.
Man, you know what I love about this thing is I know some people, because it brings flash. You get that white in the garden, but it's so conditional. It is a conditional white. But it has another really unique quality, and that is when it goes to fall. You can bet and be sure that this tree is going to give you that killer fall. So when you put it in your landscape, you can place it, you could site it in your garden, that you're going to get that unique fall color year after year, and it's so consistent.
Yeah, and to get a more consistent spring white variegation, avoid fertilizers in the spring. Late winter or early spring, bad time to fertilize Ukigumo. It greens up a little bit if you do that. Also, filtered light or afternoon shade will really help this tree leaf out slower in your garden and give you more of that white color that floating clouds is more known for. But like you mentioned, it's one of the better fall color Japanese maples. So plant as a fall color planting, and when you get that extra white in there, you get an extra bonus. That's a unique color you don't get in your garden.
And great sizes coming today. Don't miss out on Ukigumo. Okay, guys, we're bringing you now Clethra, Takeda Nishiki. Man, I love this thing. We're talking about flash variegation. Every leaf has its very own unique kind of. Some of them look like it's speckled white. Some of it looks like it's white on green. Some of it looks like green on white. But man, when it leaves out with those pink variegation going on, and then it flowers as well. So you're bringing a flowering aspect to your garden as well.
When I was at World Maple Park in Japan, you know, Yano took us to his back secret greenhouse, and in his back secret greenhouse was Takeda Nishiki. It was one of the cool plants he had. Even though he had so many maples, he also had one of these in his garden. I'm a big fan of variegation, and this is a unique Japanese selection that was found by Mr. Takeda, and it's a variegated Japanese Clethra. I mean, Japanese Clethra are so famous in the garden. You actually see them as many of these really box store plants with white blooms, and they're like, oh, look how great this white blooms are on this. This also has those beautiful white blooms just like those. But on top of that, you have the variegation. And that makes this tree, this shrub, stand out. Japanese Clethra, they also get bark like a Stewartia or a crepe myrtle. So as this matures, when the winter and these leaves drop, you have a really interesting bark as well. Blooms, flowers, variegation. I mean, year-round interest with this shrub. It's going to rock it out in your garden.
Okay, guys, we can't bring you without bringing Turkey Mama, Tim's Turkey Mama, Tamukiyama, Acer palmatum. Man, this is one of my favorite lace leaf Japanese maples. And one of those reasons, man, to me, it's one of the most consistent of the Japanese maples. You know what your spring's going to be. You know what your summer's going to be with that awesome weeping factor with Tamukiyama, but then you also know you're going to get that killer fall. One of the best.
Now, these are low grafts. We've offered them in high grafts as well. Low grafts are interesting because instead of having your traditional standard where it's straight, you can get a lot of twists and curves, very reminiscent of the lace leaves like you see the famous portrait from the Japanese gardens at the Portland Japanese Gardens in Oregon. You know, this can have those twists and curves because it is low grafting. You're already starting to see those twists and curves starting to develop on many of these low grafted Japanese maples. Tamukiyama is a classic. It leaves out 2 weeks later, avoids later threats of frost. It can handle full sun in super hot climates, and it holds its color long throughout the season. For a red weeping lace leaf, this is one of the best. It's a selection by Kobayashi Momiji in Japan, some of our friends who introduced it 300 years ago. And now 28 generations, they're still there in the Saitama Prefecture, still producing and introducing Japanese maples. You know, they introduced Ryusen, Hoshizora, many other great classics in the trade today. And this is probably one of their most popular. And it's still one of the best.
Mm-hmm. You know, what I really like about this and planting it in the landscape, plant this on a mound or up high, because the structure of it alone, being able to see it as it grows, to look up underneath into it, this is one of those where just the shape and the structure of it is just fantastic in the landscape. And I also say, get you more than one. This is one of my favorite ones to do a mass planting with.
I mean, if you've seen the tree at Buckholtz in the display gardens there, the Floral Wonder Arboretum, you see where he planted 6 of these together, and he used a combination of low grafts and high grafts to make it look like one giant specimen out there. That's definitely a fun way to really, you know, make it look like you've got a bigger tree in a shorter time frame.
Tamukiyama.
Guys, we did it. We're bringing back Marmalade.
Man, y'all have been asking for this. Man, I got to say, at least 3-4 times a week, they're someone on social media asking, when is Marmalade coming? It's here, y'all. You're talking about that spring interest with that orange that comes out, and it makes you think of Marmalade. But I was really blown away with Scott Gould when he did his top 5, and he talked about that he's in North Georgia. He has this pushing in the sun, and man, he's carrying those oranges all the way through into the season, into summer.
Now, the last time we offered these, they were on sticks, and they were probably a little bit taller. The difference is we've been cutting the hound back in these, cutting them back really hard for sign width, so they've become very multi-branched. It gives you that denser, fuller appearance like many of our 7-gallons look like in some of our videos, like our top 5 most outrageous trees at Buckholtz when we were covering Marmalade. This is going to have a similar appearance much quicker. Now, Marmalade in the spring leaves out with a brilliant orange, and then it goes to almost like this yellow color. And you're still even seeing a lot of this yellow color across this tree even late in the season. Marmalade is a selection by Talon Buckholtz named by his wife Haruko, and he's had it in the works for years. He'd been put the name on it, and he'd had it sitting there at the nursery for quite a while. And Marmalade originated as a chance seedling from Orange Dream, and that's where you see those oranges and yellows that you see almost later in the season. I do think this appears to be more sun tolerant and more colorful than Orange Dream by far. It's one of the most colorful Japanese maples I've ever seen.
Well, I remember this past spring when we went to Buckholtz and we walked in, and not to say that any of the other maples weren't performing, but man, when this was in its full orange glory, man, it put everything else to shame almost. It made this pop so hard. But man, you talk about it coming from Orange Dream, man, I really find just the foliage on this, how serrated these leaves are, is just a dynamic look in itself in terms of texture. Leave the color out of it, just the texture of this is wild.
Now, this is a spring interest tree, but it's also a summer interest. And that's the thing that makes Marmalade stand out from other spring interest trees. Many of the other spring interest trees will have a spring interest, but then not continue to put it on during the summer. This one continues to put it on in the summer, and with each flush of growth, you get that orange coming on top of this yellow. So it is dynamically different than what else is out there in the trade, including one of our introductions that was introduced by one of our friends. Some of our friends recently introduced Orange Marmalade, similar name, similar spring colors, but very different in the summer.
And you know what? Pair this up. I know Tim would like to hear this. Pair this up with a summer gold, and you're going to have a flashy early spring color. I think you said Mila, Marmalade, and summer gold. Hey, you can't go wrong.
I think those would be pretty dynamic. Maybe something like a Murasaki. There's so many cool plants you could pair in with those trees. I mean, they're just so dynamic. Hinotori Nishiki for some of the pink spring colors, but Marmalade, maybe a Ramona.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
there's so many fun plants to pair out there that are going to contrast so well against these. Marmalade is going to look beautiful for you all throughout the season. Guys, grab you one. This is one of the prettiest trees I've ever seen in my life.
And go ahead and get on it quick, because these are going to sell out quick. Okay, guys, we are coming to you with Taxodium Secrest. Man, you know what I love about these is we talk a lot about, you know, different factors going into the garden, texture, color, stuff like that, and we talk a lot about foliage. Well, cool thing is, man, this is a deciduous, so you're going to get those spring interests with it, man. But, man, just the bark interest alone makes this a really, really awesome tree. To me, this is one of those four-season interest trees.
Now, Secrest Arboretum in Ohio has been a customer of ours for years. Since we only had 4 greenhouses over here, some people have been buying trees from us and shipping them to the Secrest Arboretum for years. So they've got a lot of dwarf selections from here at Mr. Maple. And this is their dwarf bald cypress. It was found as a witch's broom, dense compact form. Bald cypress are great because while they're very drought resistant and they can handle almost street tree conditions, they also can handle those extremely wet, boggy conditions in the soil where Japanese maples can't grow. You always hear us talk about Japanese maples and say, give good drainage to your Japanese maple. With a bald cypress, it can go in those wetter places in the garden where you can't, experience a Japanese maple. But here you can have a dwarf, compact, deciduous conifer that can actually handle that wetter spot in the garden.
And I also think that being a dwarf, this is one of those that, man, you could put in your container when you have your container, with your maples on the porch. Since it is a dwarf, it can stay in that. And the fact that it is drought resistant and also that it can handle extra water, it's going to be one of those more easy, because sometimes containers can be a little bit more harder to maintain and take care of.
Hey, in a container, you can actually use the saucer of death on a Secrest.
There you go. So
because it can actually handle the water where a Japanese maple definitely cannot. Dense compact form. This is going to give you that ornamental trait that you like. And if you have it out there in the landscape where it's getting a lot of water, you'll also get those knees that bald cypress are so famous for, where those little protrusions start popping out of the ground all around the roots of this tree. Very unique, very special, a dense compact tree for your garden.
Secrest.
Guys, next up we have Acer Palmatum Shin deshojo.
So we're talking Shin deshojo, improved deshojo. Man, what I really like about this, man, is that this is one of those that I think any of the bonsai folks out there that are looking for one of those perfect trees for bonsai, I think this is it right here.
I also think it's an amazing plant for spring color in high heat areas. The spring color is so intense on its fire engine red that it looks almost like it's in fall color. So often people will see photos of Shin deshojo in the spring and confuse it for when it's in this fall color because it is so bright and intense. Great thing to pair with that Marmalade we've got listing today.
That's right.
Because the cherry red spring colors and orange on Marmalade, 2 different colors, very dynamic. It's going to be one of those trees that just lights up the garden.
And this is one of those guys, go ahead and jump on it, get it in your cart, go ahead and check out, because this will be another one of those that if you don't hurry on it, it's going to sell out.
Shin deshojo is a classic tree in the nursery trade, and it's one of the most dynamic, intense spring colors. Now, after its intensity spring color, you do get green throughout the season, but then you get the return to it in the fall. And when you do that, you have the changes of the seasons that people love about Japanese maples. So it's not always out there looking maroon. You have intense colors that really tell you when this tree is essentially in flower. And that's the springtime. And then in the summer, you have a nice tree out there, give you a nice lively summery feel. And then when the fall hits, that intensity returns. That's one of the ever-changing beauty of Japanese maples.
Shin deshojo.
Guys, next up, we've got one of my favorite variegated plants. We have Hakuro Nishiki. The reason this is one of my favorite plants is on my honeymoon, my wife actually saw one of these planted out in Florida. So it may be a little more heat tolerant than we list, because we listed it as zones 4 through 9. But my wife just fell in love with the beautiful variegation on Hakuro Nishiki. And she's like, I love this tree. So we bought one on our honeymoon after we got married. And so this tree, I love it. It gives you a unique variegation on a shrub-like tree.
Well, what I really appreciate about this is, one, the leaves seem to be a lot smaller than some of the other ones. So you kind of get that textural interest. But again, that variegation with that, is it white on green or is it green on white? But again, there's bark interest to this as well. You get some white striping going through the bark, so you get something that becomes that four season interest, which is really cool. We got quite a few on our list today that are four season. But in the early spring, you get some of that pink before it goes to that white. Just something that really stands out in the garden.
Now, all of ours have been cut back, and the reason being is production. So it actually gives it more of a shrub-like appearance and promote more variegation in the spring for you as well. So the cutting back this time of the season on Hakuro Nishiki, very typical. Not a problem for these willows. Willows aren't typically on my list of favorite plants, but this is a really special one that gives you a dynamic variegation. Think of something akin of the Clethra Takeda Nishiki we talked about earlier, but again, wetter place in the garden. This can handle it. It's a willow. It's a variegated willow, compact form, tons of variegation, so it's going to give you a lot of interest out there in the garden. Guys, this one's a winner all the way around. It's easy to grow. It's really durable. In hotter zones, you need to give it some protection from the hot afternoon sun. But I'm telling you, this thing is a beast out there in the garden, and it grows very well.
And 6 to 7 foot in 10 years, so you don't need a huge plot or space for this. You can fit it in those spots that might be a little bit smaller. It's not going to overgrow and get too big. Excellent tree. Okay, guys, we got Acer shirasawanum Senzu. Man, what I love about this, man, is those leaves have that shirasawanum full moon shape. But then, man, like even right now, even at this time of year, there's like some little bronzing going on with the leaves. It's a great upright. And, you know, you can't talk about any of the full moons without talking about fall. Fall is going to give you, this is going to be one of those trees that puts on a show, guaranteed.
Now, this is an introduction that Talon Buchholz introduced in the nursery trade. Talon's famous for many of the Acer shirasawanum hybrids that have even given us lace leaves, compact forms like Mr. Sun, a bunch of really cool, awesome plants. Senzu was actually a seedling that was bred by an Oregon State University plant breeder, one of our good friends, the late Jim Baggett. And the original code name on Senzu was JB50. And he took those to Talon Buchholz and said, you know, introduce these in the trade. Well, like any tree, Talon doesn't leave code names, so he put the name Senzu on there. Senzu translates as fan. And that's because each of these leaves kind of remind you of like a Japanese style fan. They just sort of furl out. They've got more lobes to the leaf, giving that fan-like appearance. In the springtime, you get some coral pinks on the new growth. Then go into that darker green, some great fall colors like you mentioned, yellows, oranges, and reds. Good mid-size upright, and it blows in the wind, kind of like those fans. Someone just sitting there waving the fans. Awesome upright Japanese maple, and it's a Acer shirasawanum hybrid with Palmatum. The shirasawanums are awesome because they can give you that extra hardiness in those zone 5s when you have, you know, like a polar vortex come through. You may get some damage, but typically it doesn't kill the trees on the shirasawanum hybrids because they're more cold resistant. Part of that reason is it shuts down earlier in the fall and leaves out later in the spring. Some awesome hardiness points to Acer shirasawanum. Really beautiful upright.
And as you can see today, we've got 1 gallons and 3 gallons available. Don't pass it up.
Guys, lastly today on today's 10 at 10, you know, this is the 10th tree we're talking about. There are 10 other trees in your email you can sign up for on Mr. Maple. That means all 20 are getting listed at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Mr. Maple. Is Sango kaku in 2 gallons.
Man, we're talking about maybe one of the OG 4-season. We talked a lot about that today. That 4-season interest might be one of those OGs in the trade where you get that coral bark, that red coral bark during those colder months when you start getting that. But even these, man, we're already starting to see at this time in October that the colors are starting to change, and these are starting to get more of that red in there. You've got that awesome palmatum leaf, but that, man, then you go into that fall and you get that killer yellow off of it. There's no wonder you drive all over the country. You can go to shopping centers and you see this tree growing.
I mean, this is an amazing selection for fall color. Sango kaku translates as coral towers. And that's because it's really known for that winter interest. To really peak up that winter interest, one, as the cold temperatures start to come in, you start to see the bark changing like you're doing now. During the summer, you may have a little more green color on the bark. That's typical. Sunlight also intensifies the red bark on your Sango kaku. So sunlight will peak up the colors and make that red happen quicker and with more intensity. So make sure you give it some sunlight when you're planting it out there. That yellow fall color, though, is is amazing. We did a whole walkthrough on Japanese maples in fall color at Gibbs Gardens in Georgia. And during that walkthrough, which has tons of views, it grows because we hit it in really peak fall color. The primary yellow fall color in the gardens at Gibbs Gardens are multiple Sengu kakus. And Sengu kaku is one of the Japanese maples that gives us a consistent yellow fall color out there in the garden. And it pairs so well with many of your other Japanese maples that are often going to oranges and reds or a mixed batch of colors. Sengu kaku is very typical in that bright yellow in the fall.
And you know what? I can't talk about this tree without thinking about the one that's at Buckholz Farm, that huge one that's out there. And to really see it, to have that opportunity to see this tree get to that, you know, I don't want to use the word maturity, but to get to that age and size. The form on these trees are such a strong form to it, that upright, but then the way those branches reach out, it's just a strong tree in the landscape.
Now guys, that was 10 of the 20, but we also have an open house coming up, so don't forget about it. It's coming up October 25th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here at Mr. Maple. We're here on the East Coast, so I had to throw that in there. But guys, all the details are on Mr. Maple, from the address to come to. And if you want to shoot a top 5, let us know. We often film our top 5s with our customers at our open houses. It's a fun time to meet up, talk plants, see people who love Japanese maples just like you do. Everyone who here is going to love them. And you're going to get to shop cool, rare, interesting 1 gallons of Japanese maples you won't find almost anywhere else in the United States, especially such a big collection like we have here at Mr. Maple.
And the community, that's my favorite part, is the community. You're going to run into people that love Japanese maples, that love gardening just as much as you do. And I always love it when someone's like, just mentions, oh, I'm from Wisconsin. You're from Wisconsin, I'm Wisconsin. And immediately they have a bond, they've got a kinship, and they can start talking about, well, hey, what works for you? It's just the whole community aspect of it is always fun. So please come out and see us at open house. It's always a blast.
It's crazy because it seems like every open house we have people coming from California, Texas. I mean, some people drive in. I've had a guy who drove part of the way, his car broke down, he sold the car off to a junk place and bought a new car and kept on coming. I mean, that is dedication. And so we have a lot of people who travel from far distances. Some people fly in, and we can actually even ship your trees back if you get shippable trees. So we have larger material that's only for pickup here at Mr. Maple. But we'd love to have you at our open house. It's a fun time. And it's our Halloween. We're gonna have a Halloween costume contest. So we'll have a Halloween costume contest with our employees and also with all of our customers. So be thinking about what interesting, fun Halloween costume ideas you could have at the open house, and we will pick a winner. And I think last year, the winner actually won a Bloody Talents. Mm-hmm. And we will be picking, it may not be a Bloody Talents this year, it may be another tree, but something rare and interesting we know everybody really wants. In fact, I think we started out and we were only gonna give out a few prizes, and we ended up giving a ton of prizes out because we had so many people who competed and did such a great job in our Halloween costume contest last year at our fall open house.
And we should be at that right time of the year for the leaves changing color into those fall colors around us in nature and in the greenhouses. So come check them out. We really appreciate y'all tuning in. Y'all take care.
God bless.
And have a great day.